So the question about feelings, I guess. I'm really bad on expressing my feelings. Really. It's like my bad side. I really don't know what I'm feeling.
Love you!
Thank you.
Yeah, I think someone's trying to say thank you for inspiring a new generation of punk rock social activists. Thank you. Okay, here's a different path. The Access Hollywood tape of Trump.
Oh, good one.
I know. Well, this is where he talks about sexually aggressing women and says he says you just grab their pussy. You might remember this.
Yeah.
Yes. Hard to forget. Hard to forget. So that's brought renewed attention to the word pussy. Lots of people don't like the word pussy and find it offensive. Sorry, I'm not supposed to be editorial.
Maybe Donald Trump is like undercover fan of Pussy Riot.
What's your... Okay, good. I'm glad.
And Riot also.
What's your take on the word pussy? Other than the clinical and formal vagina, what are acceptable terms?
For my opinion, the word pussy should go with the word riot.
Well, I was thinking about Elizabeth Warren, you know, like
she's great.
She's great. And when Trump said, you know, she's a nasty woman, then Warren came back and said, we're a bunch of nasty women, and we're going to take we're going to move into the voting booth, and we're going to vote in our nasty way, right? I mean, so she just took it and she made it work in her own empowering way. And it seems like it's true that you've got Trump using the word in a degrading way, but it seems like Pussy Riot, it's like, oh, that's not what he expected to find. Sorry, I won't editorialize too much. Yeah, well, there's that. Okay, what about Putin? What will happen? There are a couple of questions about Putin. What will happen to him? What will happen to Russia after Putin? And how do we defeat Putinism here in the United States?
So, yeah, I mean, it's the first time when I hear this question about Russia after Putin. I think we should go step by step and firstly solve the problem of Putin. And, I mean, it's really like, you know, not 1 second. We just should really show and work on the alternative which we can, you know, give to our country and to the world. And one of the things why I'm here is just to show that Russia represented not only Putin and his team, but also by us. And so, as the second part of the question.
Well, one was how do you see Russia after Putin, and how do you think we can defeat Putinism in the United States? Do you see there? Do you see?
I think it's very kind of simple question. So I spent 2 years now seeing the world and communicating with the world and with politicians, and very often I've seen that business interests become more, important for politicians than human rights or freedom of concrete people. And this is, I think, totally wrong. And what can you do with that to push your politicians to act in the right way, in a way of conscience, and just stop this hypocritic game, I think, like this? Because what these Russian authorities are doing systematically, they stealing money in our countries, and they put this money to the West, to the Western companies. They also invest to their children, sending them somewhere to, I don't know, Miami, for example, and everybody are happy with that. Is that right? I think no. So I think we should just stop it. Okay.
We also have a question about feminism. Can you talk about the state of feminism in Russia right now, in particular women's health issues, access to birth control, abortion? Are they as politicized as they are in the United States? Maybe you both could talk about that.
We both just were writing a text about this 2 hours ago, so...
Well, the main problem is that, in Russia, there are mostly men who decide for women how to live and what to do with the body. I mean, a lot of Russian officials and a lot of Russian, church officials are against abortion.
Patriarch, for example.
Yeah. And they think that that a bunch of Russian men can decide for all the women in the country what to do with their body. And Russian, of course there are some women in Russian parliament, for example, and other authorities, but the thing is that what they basically do is they support the men's statements on abortion and other stuff like this, and on the decriminalization of domestic violence things, which is ridiculous, because you're a woman and what you do is you basically give the right of deciding what to do with your body to the bunch of men. Okay, thank you very much, but the whole country doesn't want to live like this, right? So of course, all the feminist issues are really, really important for us now, but the thing is that we have we don't have any politicians or some kind of other influential people who can be an example or who can change the whole situation, because of course we have many activists in feministic groups, but the authorities won't just listen to them. And you can protest however you want. You can ask them questions why should they decide what will I do with my body? Why should I fight for each piece of my body and whatever? But no one will listen to you. So, and this is kind of hard. But well, I don't know. Feminism is, I think, kind of new to Russia. I think it came to Russia just recently from the Western countries, from Europe and the United States, because the majority of women has no idea about their rights, and domestic violence is the biggest problem. And the second problem, from my opinion, is the society, because Russia has the majority of Russian people have really Soviet mind kind of thing. I mean, in public opinion, the right place for woman is a kitchen and stuff like this, and woman is represented as mother and housewife and stuff like this, who will always do the stuff at home and sit and wait for her man to come home from the work, and so. And of course, it's like weird for Russians that like there are some girls who want to report on war or like prison and stuff like this. Basically, me. And, yeah. But there are many of us. I mean, look at my hair, right? I'm like in Moscow. Happens really, like almost every day. I'm walking to the grocery store or whatever, and women, just like some strangers, are just commending my hair, saying something like, "Your hair should be longer," and I'm like, "I don't even know you." Yeah, the problem is that it's not a man telling you this; it's a woman telling you this, because yeah, the majority
they say that I'm a whore.
Yeah, the majority of Russian women doesn't want to change the situation, and there's only a bunch of them who know that like we have rights and who wants to protect the rights. So the majority of women just like that, is just pretty comfortable with what they have now.
I think also interesting that. I was thinking for some time in jail, like what happened with us if we were men. Like, just imagine 5 men goes to this church and like sing this fucking one verse and one chorus. What will happen? I think that will be really another story, another probably interesting story, but another story, because they didn't expect this action from women, and they actually afraid of women acting. And another thing, they're afraid of sexuality. I'm talking about like publicly talking about sex. Like one of the most, I think, popular interview of Putin with one of the Western journalists was about the current situation in Russia in 2012, and one of the questions was about us. And Putin said, like, do you know how the name of their group is translated? You know, this is immoral to say words like that, but probably it's very moral to put their troops to the territory of different countries and to start, killing people there. This is totally moral. This is okay.
Well, maybe I could follow on that, just for a couple of going on in terms of resistance to heightened Russian militarism.
Well, the annexation happened more than 2 years ago, and a lot of things happened after that. For example, we have this war still going between Russia and Ukraine. And I think what is I'm responsible for is for people who are in prison, because number of them are growing. And for example, Oleg Sentsov, he's Ukrainian citizen. He has Ukrainian passport. But because of this fucking annexation, Russian government says that he's a citizen of Crimea and he cannot be deported to Ukraine, and he has to sit in Russian prison because now he's Russian citizen, because Crimea is ours and all this shit. Yes, and he's not alone, but he's the best example of how big geopolitical situation can be shown on the life of one man. That's why it's so important for me to free him, because it's a precedent. And because of this precedent, we can, give freedom for many people.
I think, a similar situation is in the eastern Ukraine, the territories controlled by separatists. Because there used to be prisons there, Ukrainian prisons. But since the war has started, people are sitting in prisons there, some Ukrainian people and some Russian people as well. But they are really abandoned, like no one cares about them. Russia does not care about them. Ukraine does not care about them. Even the separatists, they do not care about them. Because this war conflict is actually is not considered as a war officially. So people keep staying in prisons, and there's no way to visit them because it's way too dangerous, because all those territories are controlled by separatists, and since the active part of the war conflict has stopped, the separatists are still there, and they're not really friendly to journalists. Any kind of journalists, actually, not really independent Russian journalists or Ukrainian journalists. Nowadays, they are not friendly to any kind of journalists. So there's almost no chance to visit those prisons, and we don't even know how the exact amount of people sitting there. And well, what will happen to these people is still unknown, because we couldn't, even the exchange is not possible. We don't know anything about those people. We don't know their citizenship and stuff like this. And we don't actually know what to do with this.
Okay. Maybe there's a last question, and I guess this has sort of two parts. One has to do with, it's about violence and how you handle violence. And I suppose one part of the question is for Masha, and in particular, what was it like to go to the Olympics and to be beaten? How do you emerge from that scene, and how does that change your activism? Does it stop you from doing events like that? Does it bring you right back to those events? How do you work with that as part of the risk of what you do? And of course, Sasha, you yourself are aware of the enormous violence that journalists can suffer. So you also live with this as part of your daily lives. So one person asked, how do you deal with that? And another person wants to know, if a protest you're involved in turns violent, what role do you play in the immediate response to that? How do you situate yourself in relationship to a violent scene? Mm-hmm. I hope that's clear.
Well, when we went to church, nobody expected prison. When we went to Sochi, nobody expected Cossacks. So this is unpredictable. But for me, it's. I do not separate to the categories. This is kind of prison. This is reading my mails. This is violence. If you are doing something in Russia, it's not only about me. I'm not, I'm not special. You should expect everything. But at the same time, it makes your life interesting. So why not?
Why not? Nothing tastes better. So, well, it is pretty much predictable what can happen to Russian independent journalists, because there are many, many, many examples, like during the decades or even hundreds of years. So. But, well, actually, when I was younger, I thought, okay, I'm not that popular. Okay, I work for an independent media, but I didn't have a lot of followers on Twitter and no one knows my face, so nothing bad is going to happen to me. But after this case in Chechnya, when one of our colleagues was attacked by strangers, I was like, okay, probably something like this will happen to me as well one day. But there's not only the government with its hands covered by blood trying to like shut you up, it's the society as well, because a lot of people really do not appreciate what we're doing, and people are sending you like angry mails, and people are insulting you when they recognize you. People can actually beat you when you're an activist or a famous independent journalist. God thanks I'm not that famous, but well,
you're only 21.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of paranoid over everything. Okay, but I try not to like think of it that much, because if I will like think of every bad things that can happen to me or my colleagues, I won't have any time to do my job. So yeah, sometimes, okay, late, I'm in my bed lying and like staring at the wall, thinking of like, okay, what happens tomorrow? But I'm trying not to concentrate on it, because okay, if I will be attacked by someone one day, what can I do about it? I'm not that strong anyway, so what should I do to be prepared? Like buy a gun? Well, I wish I could, but it's not allowed. I'm just joking, no. Anyway, I hope that was the answer.
Something you'd like us to know or think about?
I was just very happy to help the girls to come here, and very happy to introduce a new member of the Riot community, I think very bright and fearless member, Sasha. And also, I'd like to stress that the Riot community is not only doing something with Russian problems. Of course, Russian problems are the most important for them, but Masha visited a lot of prisons all over Europe and America. Masha has visited the biggest refugees camp in Calais in France, and Masha has produced a music video, I Can't Breathe, and I helped her with the music a little bit with musicians, and actually it's dedicated to Eric Garner, so it's... And recently Nadia Tolokonnikova produced and sang a music video, Making America Great Again, dedicated to Mr. Trump. So you see how diverse are these people and how broad are their interests to bring justice to this world, and I'm very thankful that you support it.
I just want to add that it's been a great honor to see you again and to be watching the extraordinary development of this social movement, which is Pussy Riot, and its growing transnational solidarities. I find myself in amazement and admiration for the way in which you all keep clear about what it is you're doing, how important it is, what the principles are, what the passion is, and you are fearless in a way that I think takes our breath away in a good way, and I think that this is a radical movement for freedom that we are witnessing. It started as an astonishing act, a brave and amazing act that rocked the world, and continued as a brutal imprisonment, a brutal and unjust imprisonment, and then emerged as a prisoner rights network and a massive media movement to call attention to prison injustice and prison rights, but also a broader struggle for freedom and against state violence. I'm just so pleased to be with you, and I hope we have another chance to do this soon. Before we end, I just wanted to ask if there were any final comments that either of you would like to make.
Well, I just have one little thing to add. I think, well, one of the main points is that, like, Pussy Riot is a really big thing, and in fact, everyone can be Pussy Riot. Everyone can do activism. Because, right, there are many important things we're fighting for, and if you want to join us, feel free to do this. In your own country, in your own city. Like, just, if you want to fight with us, just keep fighting for what you think is important, and keep looking for ways to solve the problems you think are important to solve. That's it.
I don't want to say final words because I hope this is not final meeting with you. Really.
Okay.
Well, I hope really to come here again. Well, San Francisco, like personally, really.
Well, you are warmly invited, and we will be making the next date in a matter of seconds. Okay. Thank you so much.